This is Amazing reacting to a brand new video on my channel. Today's video is titled Kagurabachi's Power System Explained, Spirit Energy and Chihiro's Goldfish Abilities. So, Kagurabachi. Right now, currently, I am caught up on the manga. It's only in the manga, it's not it hasn't been adapted into an anime yet. It should be hopefully in 2027. Some people were saying 2026, but I don't know. I think 2026 will be too soon, and I think they need to take their time and get this right. For those of you who don't know, who are new to this manga, Kagurabachi would probably, the best way to explain it, it's like if Bleach and Jujutsu Kaisen came together and had a kid, it would be Kagurabachi. I think it has potential to surpass both. It's amazing, and we're gonna get into it. It has a great power system. I'm gonna go do a couple of videos talking about some power systems, but this one does have a great power system so far. They haven't really dove into it all the way in the manga, but every chapter they give us a little bit more. And we're gonna go ahead and get started.
A really cool and fun power system. Most importantly, though, I think it helps that the author does a great job of showcasing the different sorceries and powers clashing in its fight scenes, the way the characters use their abilities, the timing they choose to use it, the variety, how it's executed. It's what makes the action sequences
I
very
think he
fun
gonna be
to
the
read,
goat
in my
too.
opinion. While
He
it's
a
still
teleporter, so
early in
if you know about
development for
anime,
them, we've also
you know.
seen quite a lot in the span of 35 chapters. So today, I would like to explain the foundation and basics to the powers of Kagurabachi, talk about spirit energy, sorcery, enchanted blades, etc. Then, the second part of the video will be me specifically going over all of Chihiro's abilities, including his three most infamous attacks, Kuro, Nishiki, and Aka. This is my first Kagurabachi video on the channel, planning to make more, so yeah, hope you stick around. Okay, just like how chakra is in Naruto, cursed energy in Jujutsu Kaisen, spirit energy, or Genryoku, is the main power source in Kagurabachi's world. Spirit energy is described to be the life force within human beings, something that we all have, and that life force can be trained, controlled for the person to eventually use and learn sorcery. Just like Shiba stated in chapter 4, since everyone has spirit energy, technically anyone in the world can use sorcery. They just have to work like a maniac to grasp it. Now, what does that exactly mean? Well, in chapter 32, Chihiro says that one first needs a strong body in order to use sorcery. Take someone like Hakuri, for example. When he was first introduced, Hakuri was
Shout out to Hakuri. All right, so first let me give you a little bit more context, and because I think this going over power system, it ain't really delving into like, so basically it's in the modern day, and there was a war between some people that popped up on an island, and they had incredible powers. They could use some stuff called, I think it's called Donkey Seki, but they could use it in order to increase their techniques or their sorcery. So they went into a war with Japan, and Japan sorcerers had to come to the forefront because I believe before then people didn't know about sorcerers, and but because of that island and the people attacking, sorcerers had to come to the front lines and basically be the military. They ended up getting into a fight with these people. I'm assuming they were losing or it wasn't going the way they expected, so they created these swords, and each sword came with a special ability. That's why I say it's kind of like Bleach, because once they made the swords, they gave it to sword bearers. I believe six of them, but they gave it to them, and then with those swords, they ended up getting a sweep of the war. It's some more stuff that go along with the war, but if you read the manga, that you can find out about that. But that's basically what happened. And then like through that, once the war was over, that's when our story mainly picks up. It's the aftermath of that war. With they end up locking up the swords, and because they deemed they were too powerful, kind of like nukes, so they end up locking them up, and then that's where the story takes off. And it'll get into more of why they locked them up and how how the swords play a role in the story. But that's basically where it starts off at. And then, all right, now we can get back to the sorcery.
was shown to be a weakling who couldn't use his family's signature technique. However, Shiba said that Hakuri had the potential for using sorcery because he was able to survive a full-blown attack from Hiyuki's flame bone, a feat that would have killed any other regular civilian. So surviving her lethal attack proves that Hakuri's body is strong.
And one more thing I will say about him to get you kind of enticed into watching the show, Hakura, he if he was if this was any other shonen, I think Kuro would have been the main character. I like the main character that they have, Chihiro, but I'm just saying he's that type of character. If he was in a if this was any other show, he'd have been the main character. Like he has like the I don't know how to put it, not like Naruto, but he's super optimistic and kind of like bright, not bright like smart. He is smart, but like bright, like he brings like good energy. And then you throw him in there with the main character who is more of a Sasuke type. I do love the dynamic between those two, but I like that they make each character like extremely like likable.
Therefore, you already had the preparations ready to achieve sorcery. Just needed the mental confidence and a strong will to
Yeah,
finalize
he
it.
got a
Another
good
benefit
arc.
to mastering and controlling your
Now
spirit
that's the
energy
goat
is that
right.
it
Well, he
can
gonna be the
greatly
goat.
amplify your
Chihiro, he the
physical
main
abilities,
character.
such as gaining superhuman-like mobility and a heightened defensive aptness. This explains how Chihiro could run on walls, jump a multiple-story building, and just move faster than the average human in general. Beyond that, though, spirit energy can be used to manipulate mystical, supernatural powers, otherwise known as sorcery. Within 35 chapters, we've already seen many different types of sorcery, including exploding dolls, a form of teleportation, psychological induction, tree generation, body
Mm.
enlargement. There's a ton out there. There's also different levels or tiers in the sorcery you can have. For example, Tefuku sorcery is very different and more nuanced compared to others because he has the ability to create this metaphysical space outside the real world, like having his own domain expansion, where only Tefuku can choose who gets to appear in his domain and who gets to be left out.
I'm surprised he putting this guy in there as far as like, cause you know he really don't do much in the manga. We still haven't seen what he gonna do. Now the girl that Chihiro standing in front of, I ain't gonna lie, I want to see more of her. But she got a dope power too.
Normally uses this to allow Hiyuki, his partner, to fight her opponents without getting the crowd involved. It's very similar to Kyora's storehouse sorcery, a subspace that extends infinitely and doesn't exist in the real world either. So this would mean that there's certain and specific categories of sorcery. Tefuku's and Kyora's would be like the spatial slash dimension type. We've also seen different body transformation types, and there's a traversal type with Shiba's teleportation and the Hishaku leader's
I
teleportation.
feel like a
And
lot of people. I think a lot of people have like the teleportation. Like not like a lot, but it seems like they use different forms of teleportation in this manga, which I like that too. So I don't even know the guy who I think the goat as far as like teleporting so far. I don't even know if that's his main power. I think he just might be the best at it, but I don't think that's his main like sorcery.
last but not least, there could be more categories, but there's
This was
this
a great
standard
arc.
mission
It's in the
type
first
sorcery
arc.
like the
So
exploding Daruma dolls, Iso shockwave, earth manipulation, etc. Now, I mentioned earlier that anyone can learn sorcery, and while that is true, it also seems like some of it is hereditary. The Sazanami clan, for example, all of Kyora's children can use the Iso ability because Iso is said to be passed
I've been calling
down
it
through the
ISO.
Sazanami family. So it's possible that one's genes can impact their capability to learn certain sorcery types. With all
It's a
that
lot of
being
great
said,
fights in here too.
weapons can also be infused with sorcery as well. Yuki's Flamebone of the Starving is a good example of one, as according to Chihiro, Flamebone's spirit energy is immense. Shiba even said that her Flamebone is similar to the Enchanted Blade, as it has powers beyond regular sorcery. Now, what does that even mean? The enchanted blades are considered to be one of the best sorcery a person could ever have. Weapons
Yeah.
so
Enchanted
powerful,
Blades
it
are
was the
like
leading
nukes.
factor for ending the Satui War 18 years ago. There's not much known about the Satui War yet, so I
I've been
can't get
calling it the
into it. But
CH.
what we do know is that Chihiro's father, Tsunishige Rokihira, was the talented blacksmith who created these weapons, and thus why he's remarked as a hero for the impact his role played in winning the war. In
Mm-hmm.
total, there are 7 known enchanted blades
Okay,
in
so
the
it's seven.
series, technically 6 currently existing, with the Cloud
Oh,
Gauger on the
yeah.
verge of breaking. But each of these blades
Chihiro got one,
carries
so it's
3
seven.
main
Yeah.
abilities imbued within them. They even follow the same theme. For example, an enchanted blade called the Cloud Gauger has 3 abilities related to the topic of clouds. The first ability is called Mei, which unleashes lightning. The second ability is called Yui, which releases ice. And the third ability is called Ko, which
Now, one thing I do want to point out, like right now, it's talking about this ability for this sword, and it kind of seemed a little bit basic as far as like lightning and ice and water. But they do get a whole lot more complex. Like this is just only one as like one sword. Like they start diving into like I don't know the power behind like the theory of the sword can like increase its potential, but it gets crazy though.
Releases water, lightning, ice, water, all three things that relate to clouds. But the reason why the enchanted blades are more special than any other weapons or tools that have sorcery infused is because of the way it interacts with spirit energy. Not only does wielding an enchanted blade amplify the spirit energy within a person, but it amplifies way too much spirit energy to the point where it can no longer be contained in the user's body. Consequently, the massive portion of energy manifests into the real world and takes the shape of different forms depending on the wielder. Something like a giant goldfish, for example. The
Mm-hmm.
secret behind enchanted blades possessing a lot of spirit energy is because they are made with a Detenti, a special rare ore that
Dicey
was
Seki.
found during the Satui War. If a human were to touch a Detenti and flow their spirit energy inside of the ore, their spirit energy would multiply, thus leading to an overflow of energy, causing their bodies to explode. However, Kunishige Rokahira was the first person in history to stabilize the powerful ore and craft it
Yeah.
into 7 katanas that we now know of
And I
today
believe it's
as
so
the
rare. That's why they
enchanted
can't make any
blades.
more
Before getting
swords.
into one of them,
It's rare to even
Enten,
be able to.
Shihiro's main
It's rare to even be able to craft those swords because of how unstable that material is. That's why they didn't make any more, and that's why it makes sense to just lock them up because no, and once you lock them up, you get rid of the risk of anybody using the swords because they're locked up. Plus, they can't make anymore. The only person that can make anymore is the swordsmith, the main character's dad.
form of weaponry. I do want to elaborate more on the Detenseki because it not only contains an overabundant amount of spirit energy, but it also seems to integrate with the wielder's soul slash willpower. Quote,
Yes,
yes,
that's what I was talking about. How it isn't just like once you grab the sword, you get the power. Like all of the swords have like what he said, the three powers, but it also can kind of change based on the will of the sword bearer.
according to my father, the Detenseki is a power beyond the theoretical. I don't mean it's a power almighty or something, but the change in how the wielder uses the sword, the fortification of their body, the power of their will, something unclear is influencing it and summoning powers unforeseen when the sword was forged. End quote. So this is when it's first vaguely brought up in the story that the wielder of an enchanted blade can deeply connect with their sword via synchronizing their thoughts, convictions, desires to it, etc. And through this, let's call it an awakening, they can find new maneuvers or create new abilities that weren't originally designed from the blade's start.
And I know what you're probably thinking. The fish, I ain't gonna lie, it's a little thrown off whenever you first see it. But the artwork when he designed as far as like him using his powers and the fish, it's amazing. But once he get into the powers of I believe he gonna get into the powers of the main character. But like the fish, they goaded.
For example, and there's two examples I can think of so far. First one being when Sojo cloaked himself with Cloud Gauge's lightning attack, Mei. Cloaking yourself with Mei's lightning wasn't something that Sojo could do before, and it wasn't something that was even known to do with the abilities of Cloud Gauger. This is something that Sojo created himself, and when he first performed this feat, it felt like he had a deep connection and a true
Mm-hmm.
understanding with his enchanted blade. Thus, when he told Chihiro about it, he explained it like, the more I used it, the more I was able to harmonize with the Cloud Gauger. Chihiro also experienced an evolved moment with his enchanted blade, but we'll talk about that later. As
And if you haven't watched the show, if it's some spoilers, I'll put it in the title or I'll put it in the on the actual thumbnail. You know, spoilers and stuff. But hopefully it's not because I don't want y'all. I want y'all to experience it kind of like I did. Like saw the memes about it and then I decided to check it out. But it is good, and hopefully you don't get spoiled. If it is, I'll let you know before you even click on the video.
now it's time to dive into his specific abilities. As I mentioned earlier, Chihiro's main weapon is the seventh and last enchanted blade called Enten. Just like Cloud Gauger, Enten has three main techniques that follow the same theme: three goldfish. Yeah, it's not as obvious as the cloud from Cloud Gauger's Lightning
Same
Ice
thing I
and
said.
Water combo, but it correlates. You see, Enten is based on the three goldfish that Kunishige bought when Chihiro was younger. Black goldfish represents warding off evil, the red goldfish attracts good fortune, and the three colored goldfish is supposed to be totally amazing, in Kunishige's words. So it's the description of these goldfishes that represent the three powers of Enten. Starting with Kuro, the black goldfish, this technique releases a ranged slash attack, warding off any evil that comes in front of Chihiro's way. These slashes are significantly more powerful than regular sword slashes because Kuro cuts with spirit energy itself. To express how powerful that is, we see in the first chapter that a cut with spirit energy could sever the torsos of multiple low-class swordsmen, usually uses Kuro as his opening or final
That's a pretty
move in
basic attack
fight.
though,
In
but
addition, Shihiro
the other
created
ones
an
are good.
extension technique called Kuro Shred. As we talked about earlier, with enchanted blades evolving with the user, this move was made after Enten resonated with Chihiro's instincts. Thus, Chihiro's harmonization and understanding with his blade had accelerated further, growing the true realm of Enten. Shred is basically just a miniature version of Kuro, where instead of manifesting the one regular giant goldfish for one big and powerful slash, Shihiro summons up to 20 small black goldfish and uses them to unleash up to 20 smaller flying slashes. Shred uses the same amount of spirit energy as a regular Kuro, but trades its power output for the ability to release many compact and rapid slashes. That being said, even if the output is weaker than a big Kuro slash, Shihiro
It
can
does more
group up
damage.
his 20 mini slashes onto
Yeah,
one person, and that would
that's
cut
like his
them
area
as if it
attack
was a single slash of a
when
regular
he
Kuro.
used shred.
Honestly, a really smart compensation because doing smaller slashes like this lessens the physical burden and energy onto Chihiro's injured body. The second ability from Enten is called Aka, represented by the red goldfish, described by Chihiro's father to attract good
I don't know. I
fortune. And
think
that's
this might.
kind of in line
I'm
with
kind
how
of like
Aka
going back
works,
and forth
but
about
instead
which
of
one is
like
the best
silver
one.
attraction,
I like
this
Aka, and then I
double
like
swords
the
attack, which
tricolor
then
fish,
allow
uh,
Chihiro to release the
Nishiki.
absorbed attack back at the enemy. This is a pretty powerful technique, although it does depend on how much spirit energy the attack has, because, for example, when Chihiro absorbed the Daruma guy's explosions here, none of the explosions landed on Chihiro. All of it got fully absorbed by Aka, but then
Mm.
when Chihiro fights Hiyuki, Aka couldn't fully absorb the attack of Hiyuki's flame bone since it had an immense amount of spirit energy. Though a cool feat from Aka is when Chihiro absorbed Sojo's lightning. I don't know if a lot of people caught on to this because the author never shows Chihiro saying Aka, but when Sojo was charging up to release his high-powered Mei onto the city, in this small panel, we can actually see Chihiro absorbing a portion of the lightning from the tip of his blade, and thanks to Aka, that's when Chihiro was able to become the lightning rod, attracting Sojo's lightning. So while
Yeah, and I know in anime we see the copy ability a lot, but when using Aka, he does use it in like some really like interesting ways. Whenever he does use the copy ability, but I think you'll like it once you see his version of it,
While it's not a complete damage negation, depending on the spirit
and
energy
it
source, it's
absorbs
still a
too,
pretty
not
powerful
just
technique because
he
releasing
just
Aka
touch you and
can
copy
surprise
it.
his opponents the first time, and it acts like a perfect counterattack. The third and last technique from Enten is called Nishiki, the three-colored goldfish. You can think of Nishiki as kind of the opposite to Kuro, where Kuro sends a splash of spirit energy outside. Nishiki takes that spirit energy and cloaks it around Chihiro's body. By wearing
Mm.
this cloak of enormous spirit energy, Chihiro's stats get boosted to a very high degree. His regular close range slashes become more powerful, not as powerful as a flying and ranged Kuro attack, since that's a separate and condensed power of spirit energy.
If you had to like think Dragon Ball Z, it basically like it give him like a KO King. Now it do got some more stuff to it, which you'll have to find out once you read the manga, or if you wait till the anime come out, you'll find out it does do a little bit more than just strengthen his overall stats. But for the most part, just think of it like the KO cannon that Goku used.
energy. But for example, let's say there were 10 bodyguards in front of Chihiro. A regular Kuro could cut those 10 bodyguards in one swing, whereas Nishiki, on the other hand, while it's going to require Chihiro to come close to those 10 bodyguards in order to stab them with his blade, since Nishiki greatly amplifies Chihiro's speed and strength anyways, those 10 bodyguards would probably get blitzed and finished around the same time it took for a single Kuro slash to cut those bodyguards as well. Does that make sense? Of course, the ultimate
It do to
move is
me.
when Chihiro unleashes both a Nishiki and Kuro in the same sequence, amplifying his physicals while being able to release a ranged slash attack. Keep in mind, Chihiro's base speed has already been shown to blitz a few enemies before, so with
Yeah, but
Nishiki
then we'll fodder
amplifying his
though.
speed even further, a single
Eventually, he
pump
gonna
of
run into
Nishiki would
enemies that can
hover
hang
just
with him.
below or around the speed of lightning, and when he uses Nishiki at 3 times the rate that his body would allow, Chihiro should be faster than twice the speed of lightning, which is the fastest he's ever been. I'll go more into that scaling and how strong Chihiro is
Now I don't
in
know
a
about it when
separate
it come to
video in
power
a bit,
scaling.
since this was just a basic explanation covering the series' power system. But so if you want to see a Chihiro focused video and how strong he is, then be sure to let me know down in the comments. I do appreciate you
Same thing for
tuning
me.
into
If
my
you want to
first
see me react to more,
Kagurabachi video.
if you want to see me react to more Kagurabachi videos, let me know and I'll start doing it.
Hopefully this helped some of you, and if you want to see more Kagurabachi content, then definitely stick around, as this will be a series I plan to cover often in the future. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
All right. So yeah, that was Kagurabachi's power system. Like I said, Kagurabachi is an amazing anime. I I stand by it. Like Bleach, Jujutsu Kaisen, combine them, you get Kagurabachi. You see it in a little bit in the video that I was watching. It shows you that they use swords that have sorcery to them. Also, the manga, hopefully they do the anime, hopefully they do the anime justice. I really hope they do. They need to take their time with it because I think it could be just as big as Demon Slayer, My Hero, Jujutsu Kaisen. I think it could be just as big as those anime. Even the first arc was amazing. I feel like this is the first anime. I mean, well, this is the first manga where you read it that it continues to get better with each arc. Whereas with some anime, like even now, people are arguing back and forth whether they like the Shibuya arc or the Culling Games more. Whereas when it comes to this manga, it's like you like the arc, but then every next arc, like it goes from like the Cloud Gouger arc, then it goes straight to the auction arc, then it goes to the protect the sword bearer arc, and each time it just goes all the way up. Even to now, we at the arc with the sword saint, which if you read the manga, you will kind of understand the significance of that. But all in all, it's a great manga. You guys really should read it. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.